So, Jeff, I guess health of the cornerbacks is a primary topic right now. Can you give us any update on how optimistic you are about Xavien?
Well, I'd say we got a couple guys in probably the same category of their kind of day to day, and you make plans with them, you make plans without them, and you kind of approach the week that way. So I know all of our guys are trying hard to get out there on the field and be in the best physical condition possible, which, at this point in this season, it's usually, somebody's dealing with something. Not everybody, I would say very few guys that we put out there are at 100%.
I know that you guys have a philosophy, and you have core tenets that you want to stick to, and the style that you want to play. But with injuries, kind of that you need to monitor in the secondary, Keon, obviously Byron's still not off pup. Is there at any point during the week you have to maybe consider contingency plans? Given some of the guys you might be putting out there may not be as experienced as some of the guys that you have right now.
I think ultimately it comes down to putting the guys in the best position to succeed. And I think, regardless of it's a guy that's been a veteran guy or a guy that has had little playing time, you really want to put them in spots that they can succeed, knowing full well that, where you put all 11 guys, it affects everybody. And so if you move the focus to, maybe compensate for something else, it's going to take away from something else. So, I think ultimately there's so many variables that go into it. One, the particular players that you're using, and two, the offense that you're facing. So I think all of those things, go into it. It's not, just over the NFL in the course of the season, you're very accustomed and used to guys being in and out. So, and you kind of understand that even when you're in OTAs. I doubt that there is a team that goes wire to wire that all 11 starters, whether it's on offense or defense, go. So I think we're very accustomed to, guys being in and out. And that's why, even the guys that aren't playing, they need to prepare mentally, and you give them as many reps as you possibly can, but they need to prepare mentally like they're going to play in the game anyway.
Josh, how bothered are you by the fact that the team has only one pick in 4 games?
Well, we've had some opportunities. Obviously, turnovers is a thing that we stress. We'll continue to stress it. Those are usually, game-changing or momentum-type plays for a defense. I think that, we would obviously like to have more than we have. There's no question about that. I think, anytime that you present problems, whatever they may be, it presents an opportunity for progress. So, we're sitting at a pretty good spot here at 3-1, and there's a lot of things that we can improve and get better on that we're, looking forward to doing, that we need to do to get better.
You have to monitor snaps.
Just when he's happy to get the pass rush going, are you seeing any encouraging signs in turnovers?
Well, again, a lot of that goes back to game plan. Sometimes it could be a scheme thing. Sometimes it could be a individual thing. Or a matchup-based thing, or another thing is when you pressure at a high rate, the ball comes out a little bit faster, and you're seeing quicker routes and a lot more checkdowns, and so I don't really get caught up in call it a sack number, or I don't really get caught up in stats in general. I mean, basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the ball back to the offense. Going back to Allen, one thing that we would look at is turnovers, because that's that correlates probably more to winning than most stats, and there's stats out there for everything. But I do, and our players believe this, and we preach this, is, the problems or issues that we're having, we have a great opportunity to make progress on those, and that's what we're working to do in a lot of facets, not just rush.
Last year, it got rolling at one point, and when it got rolling, it did it in a big way. Is there such a thing as momentum when it comes to that, or forcing turnovers, creating pressure? Do you believe in that?
Well, I think there's a number of factors that go into it. If you're playing with a lead, and a team is, forced to be one-dimensional or get into a drop-back game, there may present some more opportunities for that to happen. That's one scenario that could happen. Another could be taking advantage of protections, and another could just be, I would say, physically winning one-on-one matchups or doing things from a coverage structure that make them hold the ball a little bit quicker. I think there's a lot of variables that go into that.
Considering the amount of time you guys were on the field in the Buffalo game, and then the heat, the short week, was last week different in as far as taking precautions, monitoring snaps, things like that, because of the short week and because of what?
I think we were very aware of the snap counts and going into the game. I think you always are pretty aware of each individual player, things that they're dealing with that you put, that they're out there playing with, and then, snap counts, and then you're also very conscious of the fact that it's going to be a long season. And, but at the end of the day, on a short week, the opposing team there on a short week, it really comes down to execution. It really does. And I mean, there's no shortcut. Like, there's no excuses for, traveling early due to a hurricane, playing on a short week. Like, I mean, once the ball's kicked off, like, none of that stuff really matters at all. I mean, it really comes down to execution. And again, trying to put the players in the best spots to succeed. So, I think we always take into consideration health, rep counts. I mean, we do that on a daily basis, even in practice. So the games are really no different.
Josh, what do you need to see from Noah for him to get playing time on defense?
Well, we're just going to ask him to continue to do what he's been doing. He's had a real positive attitude. He's worked really hard at practice, and then when he gets his opportunity, hopefully he'll make the most of his opportunities. I'm really excited to see that when that happens. So, and I think, all of our guys that we have in the back end, they're working, and, we're seeing progress out in practice. I know you guys don't get to see all that, but and then when we get in game situations, we're hopefully practice execution becomes game reality. So excited for the opportunity for him when he gets it, and, and he's worked hard, and when he gets an opportunity, he will have earned that for sure.
Last week's fourth quarter, Cincinnati was able to complete a lot of long passes. Granted, X and Byron were not in there, but what happened? Why was Cincinnati able to have that success?
Well, the one long pass was on a third down, and then that was really kind of the double pass. That was kind of I would say we didn't execute the coverage that we were in well enough. So obviously I got to coach it better, and we need to play it better. And then the one at the very end of the game, there was, I've been so focused on the other one. One, we were, it was a 2nd and 6 play. We were in man coverage. We were cheating coverage over one way, and we just kind of got beat on call it a double move down the field. And then the one at the end of the game, we were just being pretty aggressive there, and we're really in a 4-minute situation. We needed to get the ball back. So that's where that occurred. Obviously, that's another category for us defensively. Obviously, if we can eliminate some of those big plays, and then chunk plays are going to happen, like 17 yards here, 16 yards here, 22 yards here. Like, those will happen. But like the 40-yarders and stuff like that, well, we really need to eliminate those and make people drive the field. And then when you get down to, end of game situations, there's obviously a risk of the offense throwing the ball because that could stop the clock. We're probably going to play that pretty aggressive. We could definitely coach it better and play it better. I'm not saying that, but those are really the situations that came up in that game, and that situation.
We've seen you do different things with X in the secondary, but one thing I noticed against the Bengals was that you had him on T. Higgins for the most part until you went out, and then you shaded a lot of the coverage toward Jamar Chase. Just what went into that particular decision right there? Because obviously sometimes X travels with the number 1, but in this case you kind of put him on the number 2 and shaded to the number 1.
Well, I think again, a lot of it varies from team to team. I think when you can manipulate um, balls or throws to go X's way. I think everybody in our building feels very comfortable with that. Now, look, 100% of the time, is that going to work? No. There's, Champ Bailey, Deion Sanders, Darrell Revis, like all of them have been beat at some point in time. But I think everybody has the utmost confidence in X and his playmaking ability, especially if you can get a ball thrown down the field, which we feel very comfortable about that. If we feel like we can manipulate a coverage to get more balls his way, we will try to do that. And then sometimes it's just really matchup coverage based, what coverages you're playing. Again, there's a lot of variables that go into that. And then what are you trying to take away? How do you feel that you can manipulate the offense to, play into your hand? And then, obviously, it doesn't always work out in your favor. But that's something that I would say for the last 3 years we've really, tried to do at certain points in time, and to make sure that balls get forced his way, because he's had a lot of production on the balls over the course of his career. And sometimes I'm sure people go in the game plan going, nah, we don't really want to go this way. And if you can force it that way, more often than not, that's going to be good for the Miami Dolphins.
The Jets having a couple tackles out, or more than a couple, is that viewed as an opportunity, or do you look at their line any differently?
Well, I think from a protection standpoint, kind of how they're structured, they'll be very similar. Obviously, it's different guys in there. And again, I think, whether it's us putting new guys in or them putting new guys in, it just presents opportunities for the guys that they're putting in. And ultimately, it comes down to execution. But it's no different than, from anything week to week. And I mean, obviously, it's easier probably for somebody that's watching the game to see what you're doing with guys that are spread out of the formation. But we'll try to do the same thing with guys on the interior if we feel like those are matchups. And again, it ultimately goes down to putting guys in position to succeed. So, moving guys around, and trying to, what we feel like would be the best advantage for us to put our guys to succeed is usually what we try to take advantage of on a week-to-week basis.
Zach Wilson made his first start of the season last week. What have you kind of seen in just that one game, the growth that he's made from year one to year two?
He's very athletic, has a very strong arm. It looks like he's making his progression reads quicker, and he's definitely doing a good job with that. I mean, he came in, and in the fourth quarter, they were able to mount a comeback, and he was very efficient, very accurate with his throws, and a lot of big-time throws in big situations. The 4th and 7 comes to mind. Last week against Pittsburgh, that was a good throw that was right on target, and it was a great read. And he has the ability to get the ball downfield. He has an incredibly strong arm, and I would say he's very athletic, and he's really slippery in the pocket for sure.